Tonight, 3 people are dead after a horrific crash in Mimico.
The driver of that vehicle is reported to have been driving at a high rate of speed, went through potentially a red light.
It happened at Lakeshore Boulevard West and Superior Avenue. The driver and 2 pedestrians are dead. We'll have the latest from the scene. Plus,
it's pretty scary. He's shaken up.
Police are still searching for the son of a murdered Toronto woman whose remains were found in a garbage bag in the city's East End. And
I think we both agree that the country is ready for this dialogue that we call reconciliation.
Canada's first Indigenous Governor-General makes her first official visit to Ontario since being appointed. Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. 3 people are dead, including 2 pedestrians, following a crash in Mimico this evening. It happened at the corner of Lakeshore Boulevard West and Superior Avenue. And that's where we find our Dale Manukduk right now. Now, Dale, what's the latest?
Yeah, Kelda, police just opened up a portion of this intersection now. The coroner arrived about 45 minutes ago. The collision reconstruction unit, they've since left the scene. But here behind me at this intersection, there were evidence markers scattered on the ground, some articles of clothing, a pair of shoes, some 50 feet away from where a white SUV collided with a flatbed trailer. Now, that happened in front of Elevate Barbershop. One of the employees came out of the shop right after the crash happened.
Jonathan Compton was inside his barbershop when a traffic cone came smashing through his window.
They climbed on the chair, on the bench. All the shards from their glass went all over him. He's bleeding on his fingers here, right? But he was okay.
He rushed outside and saw bodies lying on the ground.
There was a crowd here, and everybody was shouting at me to call 911, but everybody has a phone.
It all happened around 5:30 p.m.
The information we have is there was a white SUV. The driver of that vehicle is reported to have been driving at a high rate of speed, went through potentially a red light at the intersection of Lakeshore and Superior, at which point the driver struck 2 pedestrians that were in the crosswalk area.
The driver then collided with a parked trailer flatbed. A portion of the front driver's side is ripped off. Compton says the impact moved the trailer bed 5 feet ahead. The driver and both pedestrians were pronounced dead on scene. Several residents in the area heard a loud bang, but because of the ongoing construction to the TTC streetcar track, they were unsure at first what had happened.
I did hear the bang, but to die to get hit by a car, pedestrians just crossing the street, that's could be anybody. Anybody. I'm glad I know where my son is and where my daughter is.
Now, Kelda, behind me, there's actually some repairs happening to Jonathan Compton's barbershop right now, and the Toronto paramedics confirmed that the victims are 2 men and 1 woman. Police are asking that anybody with any information or dashcam video contact them.
Right. Thanks so much, Dale. That's our Dale Manukduk live for us tonight. Toronto police are still searching for the son of a murdered Toronto woman and remain tonight at the Leslieville condo where both lived as part of their investigation. The body of 46-year-old Tian Lee was found in a garbage bag earlier this week, about a kilometer away from the building. Today, Greg Ross spoke with those who live and work in the area who say they are shaken.
The investigator did tell me that upon entering the residence, there was cause for concern.
Police aren't saying what they found inside the home of Tian and Dallas Lee. So far, they have not been able to locate Dallas. They say at this point he's not a suspect, but he is somebody they want to talk to.
At this point, we are concerned for his well-being. As I mentioned earlier, our investigators believe that the 2 of them live together. And due to the nature of this unfortunate homicide and the way that we found the deceased woman, again, cause of concern from going to their place of residence, where we've been unable to locate Dallas.
For 2 days now, police have been stationed outside the unit where Tian and Dallas Lee live. Other residents in the area that we spoke to say it's shocking.
It's pretty scary. He's shaken up.
Obviously, as a woman, it's very terrifying. I work in the area.
A makeshift Makeshift memorial to Tien Lee is growing at this location where her dismembered body was discovered wrapped in black garbage bags. Police believe a shopping cart was used to transport her body to this location. We have also confirmed that she owned this nail salon near Yonge and Bloor. The news hit workers at other nearby businesses hard.
Everybody's so sad to hear your next door neighbor die. Somebody killed her, and you know what I mean? It could happen to anybody.
She was living in the nearby, and she's my neighbor. But I feel very bad.
At this point, police aren't saying when they believe that Tien Lee was killed or where they believe that she was killed. We do know that they have gathered surveillance video from this building as well as a number of businesses between here and the location where her body was discovered. They're poring over that video, hoping that they can determine what exactly happened. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Police have released a new 3D facial reconstruction of a man that was found dead more than 3 decades ago, hoping it will bring new leads in the cold case. Now, this is the clay reconstruction of what the OPP say the victim from 1989 looked like. Forensic experts analyzed his skull and DNA to reconstruct this face. Now, he had short black hair and was balding. He had a full set of teeth. He also wore a pendant with evil eye charms. Police say his body was found in a ditch near Napanee, west of Kingston.
The body was found bound and gagged. So somebody did something horrific, tragically violent to this person. With enhancements in technology, we're hoping that somebody out there knows something, help us give his identity back to him.
Anyone with information is asked to call the Missing Persons Hotline. Canada's Governor General Mary Simon is in Toronto for her first official visit since being appointed. Simon is the first Indigenous person to serve in the role. Our Lorenda Redekop has more on what the trip means for the city.
It had all the pageantry associated with an official visit as Governor General Mary Simon arrived at Ontario's legislature building, greeted by the Premier and Lieutenant Governor. It begins her first official trip since she was appointed. This part of a larger objective to visit all provinces and territories. She met with the Premier inside Queen's Park, then later, together, they met with Ontario Indigenous and Métis leaders. At the Native Canadian Centre of Toronto this afternoon, they celebrated, marking International Indigenous Languages Day. They're not involved in the official visit. Mary Simon has spoken about the importance of reconciliation to her. That's what the CEO here is thinking about.
Always hopeful for a better tomorrow. So hopefully these types of meetings can open some doors.
Part of what they do here is help people through the trauma of residential schools. Late this afternoon, the Governor General visited City Hall, where she talked about reconciliation.
I think we both agree that the country is ready for this dialogue that we call reconciliation. And what it means is for us to be working together more and to respect each other's cultures.
She met with members of City Council before a private meeting with the mayor. Tomorrow, she'll head to a Ukrainian organization.
It's great. I mean, it's an honor to have her visit our building and see what the community is all about and get an opportunity to meet with some of the community's leadership, to talk about some of the humanitarian efforts that we're engaged in and the things that we're doing to support people in Ukraine.
He says she'll meet with groups sending relief to Ukraine and also people supporting Ukrainians who fled arriving here. Tomorrow, Simon will also visit an Indigenous school that teaches Anishinaabe cultural traditions and empowers students to be strong leaders. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, those winds today were really going.
Yeah, just incredible wind gusts that we were seeing earlier. We had a wind gust, in fact, at Hamilton, it exceeded 90 kilometers an hour. So really significant stuff. Now, it did help to push those temperatures up. So here's the benefit. We had these kinds of highs, including 18 for Toronto, also had some sunshine. So there were definitely things on the positive side. But now we're on the other side of that frontal boundary. The cold front's long gone through. And because of that, seeing the temperature temperatures really falling off. So some of the wind gusts still a little strong for the early evening that we've been seeing. And now as we're getting closer to midnight, we'll find them backing off and then getting a bit stronger towards midday tomorrow again, more from the west to northwest, seeing a bit of lake effect that's going to set up. So expect that, yeah, we could even get a few wet flurries. In fact, tomorrow morning, quite likely coming into the city. But then we will eventually get into some clearing, which will set us up for a nice start, at least on Saturday. 1, though, overnight tonight to 3 tomorrow afternoon.
Thanks so much, Colette. Days after CBC News revealed that the Ontario government had yet to make good on a pandemic promise to deliver financial aid for the hard-hit tourism sector, there's a new development. The head of the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario says his members are now getting notices from the government letting them know whether their funding requests have been approved or declined.
You can just see from the sheer number of applications that the government has had to go through the real scale of the damage that happened to the industry. So that's why this money is so welcome. And we're so grateful that those letters have started to go through to our members today.
6 months ago, Ontario's tourism industry was promised $100 million to help it recover from the effects of the pandemic. Earlier this week, we reported that none of that money had begun to flow. But with some operators starting to learn the outcome of their funding requests, industry officials say it will help them gear up for the summer tourism season. The Toronto Public Library is eliminating all late fines. Now, it follows an earlier decision made last year to eliminate late fees for youth. Now, studies have shown that penalties aren't effective in encouraging people to return books on time and creates a barrier in accessing library materials. Ali Chiasson has more.
Toronto Public Library card holders with late fees will be happy to learn that their accounts will be cleared of all penalties, making libraries and their materials more accessible.
By removing the late fines for everyone. Late fines can be a significant expense for those from low-income areas. When customers have fines, it has been proven that they are less likely to use the library system.
Especially because the library, the whole purpose of it is it's supposed to be really accessible for the public, so that helps.
You will still receive late book reminders as cardholders are still responsible for returning materials, and those who don't will have to pay replacement costs if books are lost or damaged.
When I first heard it, I thought it was bad. Like, you know, we need money for the library, people should return their books on time. Then I heard the mayor speak about the reasons for it. And I really changed my mind. Having late fees disproportionately affects people with less money. Of course it does.
It's a good experiment.
The amount of money that's collected from fines is quite a small amount. And I think in the spirit of what public libraries are supposed to be all about. It's about equitable access for all.
Some 57,000 cardholders will now see their accounts cleared of fines, and they'll be permanently phased out by June. $600,000 has been set aside to cover eliminating the fines.
Because we just want to make sure that people have access to all of the books and the computers and all of the great services that libraries provide, and that they're not discouraged from coming to the library because of having to pay back a fine.
And the timing works well, too.
Especially just because throughout the pandemic and stuff like that, there's been like a loss of community and most people just stay home now. So it'd be nice to have more people come out.
All of the 44 libraries that were closed due to the pandemic will reopen next week, so you can return to the library and return those books you borrowed under a little less stress. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Ontario's health minister says the latest uptick in COVID-19 case numbers comes as no surprise. Christine Elliott adding the province isn't looking at bringing back any pandemic restrictions or reintroducing the mask mandate.
At this point, it doesn't appear necessary that we need to take any further precautions, but we'll continue to follow it. And as Dr. Moore gives us advice, we'll certainly be ready to take it.
Elliott says high vaccination numbers in Ontario, along with hospital capacity and antiviral treatments for COVID-19, mean the province should be able to handle a resurgence. Elliott was at North York General Hospital today announcing an additional $3 million in funding to modernize and expand the hospital. Well, imagine a plastic water bottle made out of apple cores and coffee grounds. A facility in Scarborough is actually helping to make that happen. They're taking organic waste and putting it through a process that turns it into biodegradable plastic. Our Talia Ricci takes a tour.
It's not a pretty sight or smell, but Luna Yu sees food waste as an opportunity.
We basically were looking at how much food waste was actually going to landfill. So we thought, well, why not repurpose that food waste into something that's a lot more valuable and better for the planet?
Genesis takes food waste and converts it into compostable plastics, which can be used to make things like bottles and bags. Yu showed us how the process works.
These tanks over here, really what they do is kind of like brewing beer. We got bacteria in there, and we put food waste in there that's in a liquid form, right? The bacteria eats the food waste, and they basically excrete out these precursors called fatty acids.
And then what happens here?
So what happens here is that the fatty acids from the last stage essentially gets fed to PHA bacteria in this stage to make PHAs. Just like humans has fat cells, bacteria has fats in the form of PHAs. And that's literally the type of plastic that we make.
So is there like an actual product that we can see that comes out of this?
Sure. So what comes out of this is actually the version of bacteria film, right? And the bacteria film then goes into a separate area to get extracted out in the form of pellets.
And so then those plastic pellets can be used for anything that would be normally used with plastic, correct?
Exactly. Okay. Shampoo bottles, cutleries, cups, etc.
Yeah, I think some of these processes are very interesting.
The CEO of the Ontario Waste Management Association says the province is a hotbed for waste diversion innovation.
It should be one of our top priorities in terms of diversion from landfill. We can do a lot better, and I always note this, that Ontario is running out of landfill space, and that makes things like food and organic waste diversion ever more important. The trick is seeing if they could operate at a large enough scale to make sense.
Yu seems up for the challenge.
And with our solution, the vision is to literally replace the blue bin with the green bin. So no matter what it is that you use, whether it's a compostable cutlery or a cup or textile fabrics, you can put it all into green bins where then they get recycled back into a new generation of compostable materials.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
And you are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, mostly cloudy tonight. The wind gusts settling a little bit after a very gusty day. Currently, it is about 8 degrees in the city. And let's go back to Colette now for your full forecast. Colette, as much as those high temperatures we had, they won't be lasting.
Yeah, it was nice to see some teens out there and some sunshine. Just phenomenal. We're going to have kind of a dip again now, but then we will level off. So the turnaround is, tonight we're already starting to experience it towards tomorrow morning and a much cooler day Friday. Some lake effect, meaning some wet flurries coming our way, but those temperatures, a daytime high this time of year should be close to 8 degrees. So obviously way above that today, but just knowing, keep that 8 degrees in your mind. As we get into the weekend, we're going to find the temperatures level off a little bit, and we get a few days where things can actually be consistent with the temperatures, right? So here we are with those winds backing off a bit overnight tonight, then just a little bit blustery towards midday tomorrow, enough to drive some lake effect, and seeing some of those flurries making their way towards the city, especially in the morning, and then into the afternoon. I think they'll be hovering more towards the west of the GTA. We'll get into some clearing late day tomorrow. It means we get to start off Saturday with some sunshine. However, into the second half of the day, we are going to see some increasing cloudiness and eventually becoming generally kind of overcast. So enjoy the early part of Saturday. Just looking at what's going on with those temperatures tonight, close to freezing, and that's why, yes, the flurries at times will be wet, maybe even mixing a little bit with some kind of late showers in there, especially towards St. Catharines. That's the kind of mixing you'd be seeing through there. Elsewhere, again, kind of the winds will keep coming down a bit as we go towards the morning hours, and a few flurries earlier into Markham. Otherwise, it's mostly overcast tonight before they kind of kick into tomorrow morning. So 3 degrees, the daytime high. Remember I said kind of hang on to that 8 degrees in your head in terms of that's what a norm would be. We're close to it Saturday and Sunday, and we even get to sit there into Monday and Tuesday, Kelda. 4 days in a row.
Yay! Thanks so much, Colette. Canada may have clinched a spot in the 2022 World Cup, but the team wrapped up its remarkable qualifying campaign last night on a losing note. The Canadian men were beaten 1-0 by Panama in Panama City. Now, despite the loss, the Canadians still finished atop the final qualifying round robin. The team will head to Qatar in November, and we will find out which countries they'll face in the group stage tomorrow. And finally tonight, when the pandemic hit, Dean Barnes, who's the superintendent of education in Milton, used the time to resume a childhood hobby, collecting all the hockey cards of Black NHL players. And today, that collection was unveiled in the NHL's Black Hockey History Tour Mobile Museum. We asked him about his inspiration.
Part of it was some of the awareness in the world about George Floyd and social justice. I wanted to recognize and amplify former players who had played this game and may have been overlooked. My goal is just to have students be able to see themselves. If you can see it, you can be it.
Barnes has managed to collect most of the nearly 100 Black and mixed race players to hit the ice since Willie O'Ree did it first in January 1958. Those cards are now on display in the Mobile Museum, which showcases hockey stars of the past and present. Filmmaker Kwame Mason helps to run the museum and says the response has been overwhelmingly positive.
There's some great exhibits in there, very interactive. You know, for example, we have something from Herb Carnegie. He had the very first hockey school here in Toronto when there was no hockey schools. And we actually have one of those original jerseys there. We also have the Bauer Special Willie O'Ree skate. So people can come down here and, you know, see and learn a little bit more about Black history in the game of hockey.
The museum was stationed at the Scotiabank Arena today and is set to visit Mark Garneau Collegiate Institute tomorrow. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night.